The Opioid Crisis, submitted by myself, Adam Sukas. What we know about the opioid crisis, also known as the opioid epidemic. Roughly 21 to 29% of patients prescribed opiates for chronic pain misuse them. Between 8 and 12% develop an opioid use disorder. An estimate 4 to 6% who misuse prescription opioids transition to the use of heroin. About 80% of people who use heroin first misuse prescription opioids. Opioid overdose increased 30% from July 2016 through September of 2017 in 52 areas in the 45 states of the United States of America. The Midwestern region saw an opioid overdose increase 70% from July of 2016 through September of 2017. Opioid overdoses in large cities increased by 54% in 16 states. From 1999 to 2017, almost 400,000 people died from an overdose involving any opioid, including prescription and illicit opioids. The rise in opioid deaths can be identified in three distinct waves. The first wave began with increased prescribing of opioids in the 1990s, with overdose deaths involving prescription opioids. The second wave began in 2010 with rapid increases in overdose deaths involving heroin. The third wave began in 2013 with significant increases in overdose deaths involving synthetic opioids, particularly those involving IMF, known as illicitly manufactured fentanyl. The IMF market continues to change, and IMF can be found in combination with heroin, counterfeit pills, and in cocaine. This is the size of a regular penny, and right next to it is a lethal dose of fentanyl for most adults, which is about 2 milligrams. Right there next to the penny is the dose that it would take to kill an average adult, which is not a lot at all, and it's very scary. Real dangers in opioid abuse. There are real dangers to medicine abuse, just as there are with illicit drugs. Young adults who abuse prescription medicines can experience dramatic increases in blood pressure and heart rate, organ damage, difficulty breathing, seizures, addiction, and even death. The abuse of prescription opioid pain medicine like Oxycontin, Percocet, fentanyl, and others is also linked to increases in the use of illicit heroin, helping to support the ever-increasing opioid epidemic. Medicine abuse in a national epidemic. More Americans are abusing prescription medicine than ever before, and like other types of drug abuse, problematic behavior often begins during the teen and young adult years. In addition to the well-known opioid epidemic, the misuse and abuse of prescription drugs like benzodiazepines such as Xanax and Ativan, stimulants, barbiturates, and DXM are having an adverse effect in communities all across our nation. How did we get here? Our society has become familiar and comfortable with the common use of prescription and over-the-counter medicines. As new medicines or alleviating symptoms come to the market, they are heavily promoted with their images advertised in newspapers, magazines, on television, and of course the internet, raising our understanding of the conditions they treat. As a result, our youth have grown up associating medicine with solving problems and have a heightened awareness of the positive effects of prescription and over-the-counter medicines. While some teens abuse medicine to party and get high, many are using medicine to manage stress or regulate their lives. Some are abusing prescription stimulants to provide their studying or taking tests. Others are abusing pain to cope with academic, social, or emotional stress. Teens and other young adults don't necessarily see the behavior as risky. Many believe since that Medicine is created and tested in a scientific environment. It is therefore safer to use than street drugs, which is a false sense of security that needs to be spread across the youth across the United States, because it's becoming a major epidemic. Out of harm's way and different types of treatment provided for the opioid epidemic. The opioid epidemic is often discussed in terms of prevention, but helping those who are already addicted is addressed less frequently, unfortunately. Opioid dependence can lead to a number of consequences, like the contraction of HIV and overdose. For addicted persons who wish to treat their addiction, there are two classes of treatment options available: medical and behavioral. Neither is guaranteed to successfully treat opioid addiction. Which treatment or combination of treatments is most effective varies from person to person. These treatments are doctor prescribed and regulated, but differ in their treatment mechanism. Popular treatments include kratom, naloxone, methadone, and buprenorphine, which are the most effective when combined with a form of behavioral treatment. Assessing treatment, however, can be difficult. The strict regulation of opioid treatment programs dates back to the early 20th century. Before 1919, physicians prescribed milder forms of opiates to help wean patients off of opium. In addition to treatment, it has been proposed that addicts have places to go that are safe harbors. Examples: if they are still using, they also have a place to turn with using paraphernalia like syringes. Safe injection sites have been proposed, but has been met with much objection, with the fear that such sites will exacerbate the use of IV drugs. Consequently, as of 2018, there are no government-sponsored injection sites, though there are several efforts being made to create them. And what's being done in response to the opioid crisis? Improving access to treatment and recovery services, promoting the use of overdose-reversing drugs such as naloxone, strengthening our understanding of the epidemic through better public health surveillance, providing support for cutting-edge research on pain and addiction, advancing better practices for pain management, safe, effective, non-addictive strategies to help manage chronic pain, new and innovative medications and technologies to treat opioid use disorders, and improved overdose prevention and reversal interventions to save lives and support recovery. And these are the sources that I used for my presentation for the opioid abuse and the epidemic. And this concludes my presentation on opioid abuse. Thank you very much for watching.